ITC Doyle reporting for InPartner. It's another edition of Lessons from the Edge. This week, we're talking channels, high-tech channels in particular, and we have just the right man to walk us through some of the challenges and opportunities that channel chiefs and practitioners face today. We're talking with Rod Baptie, founder and CEO of Baptie & Co. Rod, thanks for joining us.
Delighted to be with you.
But for those that don't know, Baptie & Co., 30 plus years of doing this. Let's talk about that. Its founding, your mission, how it's changed over the years.
We've started very much with a goal to enable thought leaders to share channel ideas with the industry. And we followed that through with events. We were very fortunate in being able to get some of the most powerful speakers in the industry to talk at the events. We also have things like the Club 50, which is the most powerful club of IT and telco channel leaders in the world. So we're just in I feel very humbled. We're in a very fortunate place.
How have the conversations changed over the years?
I think what's happened is that there are certain issues which are the same. If we go back to the very first channel focus, I actually looked at the agenda and there was a topic on channel conflict. And that was 24 years ago. It's still there today, but then you've got the rise of new channels, the sophistication of the channels, the sophistication of the partner community in terms of what they're doing, and the rapidly changing business model of both the vendor community and the partner community. And at the moment, the biggest transition is the move to monthly recurring revenue.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. I love the idea that some of the same conversations are different and some of the different conversations are the same after all these years, but that's probably for a drink and another time and place. Let's focus then on what you were just discussing, the rise of recurring revenue, the shift in business models. I find a lot of channel chiefs are struggling today because they're getting hit simultaneously with two different trends. One, of course, is that shift to a different business model with their partners. But also it's the technological shift that's happening simultaneously, and that's obviously the shift to cloud technology. So walk through some of the conversations that you've been having, the issues that you see partner channel chiefs are struggling with, and how they're dealing with the new realities.
I think what's happening is the smart ones realize that the move to as a service, which is also the move to monthly or annual recurring revenue, is here to stay. It's the way the clients want to purchase. And at the end of the day, the vendor or the partner can try and do something. And if the client won't do it, it's not going to work. So whatever you say, everything is client driven. One of the fundamental issues that people are struggling with is as you move to MRR, you move away from transaction and you move towards consumption, because a key goal in a recurring revenue model is renewal. That renewal will only happen if consumption is happening and there's satisfaction at the client level. So you're beginning to see a shift in terms of what partners are focused on. You see the smart partners bring in customer success managers. You see them bring in customer consumption managers. You see vendors doing the same thing. And that's to drive the consumption, to drive those renewals, because they are so important in the model. That also means that things like behavior modeling with the partners is changing. And so you're moving from transaction-based incentives to behavior-based incentives. You're also seeing a shift from, hey, everything is based around the transaction. All the incentives are in one way, shape, or form financially based, to actually many partners are more interested in things like digital marketing training. They're interested in things like remote selling training. They're interested in, how do I do those renewals? Help me do it. And so There's a shift to training, and that's changing the dynamic. And bottom line, if you look at the two fundamentals, the thing we've got to remember is the two big changes. One is the monthly recurring revenue, and the second is the reduction in the revenue for the partner that the vendor represents. The partners are now, the smart ones, 65, 70, 75% of their revenue is coming from services. The vendor is a necessary add-on, but it's not like I wear the IBM badge or the Microsoft badge anymore. It's I am selling my brand. And that's a massive change.
So a lot to unpack there. You give us an excellent overview of some of the dynamics that are currently happening in the high tech channel. Let's pull the lens back before we start picking apart a couple of those. In the main, then, does that mean good things for the channel, the shifts that you've just described? Does this mean new partner types, more partners, more robust business for existing partners, more percent of vendor revenue moving through a channel? Or is it consequently bad for the channel? How would you characterize that?
I think it depends on the channel partner. If the channel partner really understands their role, it's very good for the channel. If the partner is based around the traditional buy-sell, they're based around things like traditional networking, etc., it's extremely bad for the channel. And so you're seeing the emergence of channel partners that are actually as much business consultants as technology consultants. They're becoming more and more specialized. They're either specializing by technology or they're specializing by vertical, and they can walk in. You know, we run the cloud services community, which is a community of 8,500 MSPs. There are people in there who can walk into a mid-sized hospital, talk to the doctors and absolutely understand what the doctors are doing. Talk to the nurses, understand what the nurses are doing. Talk to the administrators, understand how they're billing and the issues they have with billing and collecting money from customers. Even talk to the cleaning department and understand how that's being done. Those guys then say, okay, and here's what you need in order to run this. We absolutely understand it. And that's then another key trend is the MSPs are picking up larger and larger customers because there's no longer the worry about, okay, you're only 30 people. How can you deal with my business? Everything is in the cloud. So that worry goes away because everything is parked on Amazon or Azure or wherever it happens to be. But by goodness, you guys absolutely understand my business. You understand how it runs, and you can give me the kind of support you need. So there's a real sea change going on in the channel at the moment, and what it's actually providing for the customers. And the partners that understand that are making out gangbusters.
Yeah, no, we see it as well. We do see a lot of partners developing true subject matter, vertical market expertise, able to cater not just to the horizontal infrastructure needs of their customers, but also getting involved in their business outcomes, if not that business application. But we don't see all. But let's shift to some of the men and women that you've engaged over these many years. You've got friends in the channel chiefs. You know them better than anybody else. Your group of 50 is renowned for its value that it provides. How is the role or job of some of those members that you engage on a frequent everyday basis? How is that changing? How is the role of a channel chief changing today?
I think it's moving from what was traditionally very much seen as a transaction-based sales role, get as much revenue through the channel as you can, to being a much more fundamental part of the corporate thinking. So a channel chief these days has to be extremely aware of the financials. They have to be extremely aware of the profitability of the channel. They have to be very aware of how that plays into the overall corporate goals. And so you need, I think, a much better understanding of the overall corporate structure today than you had to have in the past. That means that, for example, if you look at Club 50, they talk about challenges. One of the fundamental challenges is becoming really sound on finance so that they can very comfortably sit in the CFO's office and talk channel in a way the CFO understands. And that trends downwards within the channel department, because the CEO of a partner is not really interested in talking to a channel account manager that doesn't understand how that partner makes money. And so the channel account manager has to be far more aware financially of what's going on, what matters, how a partner makes money. So finance is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. New channels are emerging, new models are emerging, and the channel chiefs are having to respond to that. Increasingly, they're moving from overlay to actually owning a number. And so there's huge challenges in terms of things like attribution. And that also is a major issue inside a lot of companies. And so there's, I think the channel chief role is becoming more sophisticated, more business orientated. And where that's happening, their role within the corporate structure is much more influential and much more senior than maybe it was 10 years ago.
We at Partner, we make a partner relationship management automation platform, and we're into through channel marketing automation as well. Talk about the role automation plays. You mentioned that these guys have to be finance whizzes today, working more cap and glove with their CFOs, but how are they working with IT, their CMOs, and how big does automation play in the role of a channel chief today, trying to provide those world-class experiences?
If you're in a substantial organization, if you can't automate most of the processes and you're still running around with Excel spreadsheets, you've got a problem. So automation is the key, but you've got to partner that with providing a really valuable experience for your partners. So it's not just automation, it's the way you automate, it's the overall experience that the partner has. And that is really, really important. The partners themselves, they want automation because they want to be able to do all the stuff in the quickest, easiest way. But you've got to make it easy for the partner to do it. And if you're doing that, and if you're being very transparent in the process with your partner community, so say, for example, you have issues to do with MDF, co-op, rebates, whatever it happens to be, the partner has to be able to see that. They want to be able to go in and go, okay, vendor X, where am I? What's the situation? What's happening? What am I owed? What do I need to do? And so it's creating a situation where it's automation. It's really understanding how to make that automation easy for the partner and making it easier for them to do business with you, not just automation for automation's sake.
Talk about what you felt was surprising about the conversations that you were hearing at your event.
What has happened over the last 15 months is not changes that wouldn't have happened anyway. But what's happened is changes that might have taken 5, 6, 8 years have happened in 15 months.
Rod, talk about other markets. We've been talking high tech principally, but you're very familiar with some of the middlemen industries and the distribution and the go-to-market strategies of other fields. Does that become something that maybe Baptie and Co. gets interested in going forward?
People say that the technology industry is the most sophisticated when it comes to channels. And I think if you look at the programs, they probably are. I think if you look at the soft side, many, many industries are better than the technology industry in terms of understanding and dealing with channel partners.
Very good. Rod Baptie, channel impresario, event organizer, friend of many, an influencer to one and all. So Rod, I can't thank you enough for the time. It's great to see you.
TC, fabulous to see you again.
Thank you. This is TC Doyle. Thanks for tuning in.